Welcome to Richard Scale Modelling. This is part 10 of AMT's Star Trek USS Enterprise NCC 1701E. Scale is 1 to 1400. And this part of the build, I'm going to be concentrating on placing the saucer section to the secondary hull. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. To start things off, I'm doing a little bit of prep work, and I'm going to be vanishing the bottom half of the saucer section. And I'm using for this Pledge Clear Polish. That's the floor varnish. And the reason why I'm doing this now is I want it all nice and dry for the next stage. But the next stage I have to put the varnish on first. So it's just a quick coat of varnish before I move on to the other part of the build. So I left the themselves to cure overnight, and now that's all dry, it's time to go on to the next stage. But first of all, I'm just going to be putting on the landing bay doors on here. And this actually surprised me. I didn't realise how much alike these were to the original Enterprise, this shuttle bay, which I quite like. And once they're on, I'm using Rebel Aquacolor 76 light grey. And I'll touch up a few bits and pieces as I go along here. So now we can fit the top part of the nacelle, the clear part. Now I'm just using normal cement here. I'm not worried about fogging because it's all painted. So if it does fog, it won't show. So I'll just use the normal cement. It went on quite well. There's two location points at each end for it to sit in, and I use them as my guide for removing the top part of the plastic so the light can come through. So as I put them on, I noticed there was a couple of bits of paint work to be done that's being chipped and so on, so I can sort that out easily enough. The main thing here is just to get them on, and I'll do a light test now to see if everything is okay. And the sweet wrapper looks like it hasn't diffused the main lights all that much. I was hoping for a little bit more than that, but I'm stuck with that now. Last time I used blue LED strip lights. These ones are used white because I've ran out of blue. I think maybe the blue was a softer light, so they diffused a little bit better. Because this is a harsh white light, I maybe should have blocked it out a little bit more. I also noticed I had one or two little light bleeds, so I'm just filling them in with some Villaggio plastic putty. And while that's curing, I'm going back to the saucer section, and I'm just keying the paint off here. Just sanding it down, taking the majority of it off, prepping it for the connection to the secondary hull. Once that's done, I've applied cement to the inner part of here, and I'm now placing on the saucer section onto the secondary hull. Now, obviously, this is a bit of an awkward shape, so I'm going to be holding this until it sets. I'll take about 10 minutes before I can actually leave it alone, but just making sure that it's all lined up, and just pointing to the middle there. If you can get the middle part down right into the seam, then you'll know you got it the right way around. So now that it's set, it took about 20 minutes in total before I was able to release it. It's still not 100% cured, but it's enough it will not budge. It's time to do another light test. So this will be the first time both saucer and secondary hull are lit up. Well, hopefully, if this all goes well. So I'll just apply the power. I always get afraid at these points because I never know what's going to happen. But there you go, everything is actually lit up. Interestingly to know, if you see the red with the colour shift, that's because of the sweet wrapper, and that's the sort of diffused look I was going for the nacelles themselves on the blue particularly, but it didn't quite work out that way. So I'm going to let that dry properly, so I'm going onto the base now, and I'm just drilling a hole into the base to receive the cable. So first of all, I've drilled a pilot hole, and then I'm simply going to put my knife out, my hobby knife, and twist it around, and this will open up the area enough for me to place two wires through. If you're not sure about how wide you can open this up, just check it periodically with your wires to make sure you've got a comfortable enough room to place the wires actually through. And I'm doing the same with the side part of the stand. Now, you don't necessarily have to have the wires exit from this point or any of the points. You may wish to put a battery inside the stand, which is certainly deep enough to hold a little 9-volt battery. I prefer to have it wired to the mains, well, to a 12-volt adapter, hence why I have the wire coming out here. So I'm just checking to make sure the hold is wide enough, and there it is. You can see the wire passing through, and also that will then go into the hole that I made for the where the rod is going to go. Now I was debating whether to leave this silver colour that I did on the stand, or whether to paint the background in a different colour. So I've decided to use River Up Colour 94 Gold. Now this will take about 5, maybe 6 coats for the colour to come through, but it's better to put it on very thinly to begin with. I should have said the silver I used a rattle car to put on. I put 4 coats on. That's my hand just reminding me it was 4 coats to this point. The silver is just from a rattle can. I decided that would be the best way to go. As I said, I wasn't sure whether I was going to do the two-tone colour or not, but in the end, I decided to do so. So this is the 5th coat going on, so you can see the gold starting to come through. So it's back to the main build, and it's time to properly connect the wires now. Now the light test was successful. It's time, as I say, to hardwire these in. Now there's a lot of excess wires here. This is because, if you remember, when I started wiring this up, I wasn't sure how much room I would have, and I wanted to make sure I had more than enough cable for this stage. Now, this cable doesn't go to waste, and whatever I cut off I will be using on other builds when I need to cut a smaller piece of cable. So it's okay, I'm not going to waste any of this off-cut cable. So I'm just cutting it down to size. I don't want too much, and also you don't want too little, so that you can't work with it and it's too tight. So I've cut the cable, and now I'm just taking off the sheath off the bare wire. I'm doing this with a hobby knife. Be very careful if you're doing it this way, because you can quite easily cut yourself, especially with a hobby knife, because they're extremely sharp. How I do it is I place the knife on there against my finger, but the blade's lifted away from my finger, and I push it onto the sheath, and just move it back and forth until you can actually feel the difference when the blade is about to hit the wire, and then I just pull away the sheath. It's probably not the ideal way to do it, but that's how I've been doing it for years. So now that the wire's off, as you can see, I'm still doing a little bit more. I'll be putting on a sheath before I connect them. And the sheath is just a normal electrical shrinking tube that you would use anyway to insulate your wires. Of course, you can use insulating tape afterwards if you've forgotten to do it. It's no biggie. It's just that the little tubes are easier to go on. Just helps protect it. So I put the tubes on, then retwist the wires, and then once that's done, I'll begin the soldering process. So I've ready to solder, and what I've done is I've got a bit of kitchen towel, and I've placed it underneath the wires just in case there's any mishaps. I'd rather the kitchen towel burn than the actual plastic of my build, of course. So this is just a little bit of solder going against the connections to make them solid. And once that's done, I'll simply push in the sheath over the bare metal part and cover that up. And a quick light test before I make everything permanent. And once I'm happy with that, I'll carefully take my solder iron and then just gently pass it over the sheath to shrink it down. Now you can do this with a blowgun as well, a hot blowgun. I know a lot of people do. I don't like using them because it heats up the plastic in a more broader area and can warp the plastic. I prefer the more direct heat from the solder iron. So that's both assemblies are hardwired in together now. You can see the wires there. And now these wires will just gently get pushed down when I put on the cover for this. And the last main part to fit. Now this is very tight. I've tried fitting this so many times, and it is a tight fit, so it's going to take a little bit of work to get it in. It's just because it fits so well. It's just tight. Now that I'm happy it is going to fit, I will be cementing it in. So I'm just putting a bit of cement around the edges for it. I'm not putting too much cement on, just in case I have to open this up. I can't see any problems with it, but you never know. This will be one of my main access points if things go wrong. So as I'm closing this up, this is where I'll bring part 10 to an end. You can see I'm having to put a little bit of pressure just to place it on. And once this is on, I will do a simple light test and then call it a night. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds? If you subscribe to the channel, make sure you hit that notification bell, that way you'll be kept up to date, not only with this build, but all my other builds as well, of course. Hit the like button, don't be afraid to leave a comment, and of course you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.